NASA proclaims there are no adverse effects of eclipse events on human health. And belief of ancient Sanatan, which suggests opposite of this, is nothing but superstition. In this video, we would determine who could be right, as we link up eclipse events with changing cells genetics, causing of cancers and tumors, influences on every human biological process, influences on the babies in womb due to an increased surface tension of liquids and body fluids, an altered gravity field, and an even greatly altered earth atmosphere and electromagnetic spectrum.
Hello friends, this is ex-Major Manish Bhatnagar. Welcome to video number 3 of the Science Beyond channel.
In the previous video number 1, we had witnessed glimpses of the theory of cosmic reflections, arrival of reflected hydrogen from moon towards the earth as an outcome of the working of the cosmic reflections. In video number 2, we were introduced to the potent working of the cosmic perturbations. In the instant video, we would brood over the reality emerging out of the special phenomena that arise out of the placement combinations of the Sun, Earth, Moon system. You guessed it right, we are talking about the eclipse. This video would herald the quest into significant influences of cosmic realities over the living beings. We all had learned about the eclipses in the school level general science lessons. Many of us would recall the lesson as merely an event wherein at certain times the moon occupies the transitory positions between the sun and the earth, thereby causing line of sight link between the earth and the sun to be temporarily broken. An event we commonly address as the solar eclipse, wherein the moon partially or substantially masks the sun from the earth's view. This would happen at no or new moon days a couple of times during the year. Similarly, lunar eclipse occurs when Earth occupies positions between the Sun and the Moon, casting a shadow over the latter.
Now, this is school level science. What worth there really is in making a professional YouTube video
Or scripting a book of deep cosmology. This would also have been the view shared by Western methodologies when they left these events of great learning without due importance they truly deserve. Here again, the super science of Sanatan did justice with the event. Before we learn about the same, we would first treat the path up to the point where Sanatan science would take us. In this video, we would talk about the solar eclipse influences and in the subsequent ones about the lunar. Majorana was the first Western researcher who in 1919 suggested that gravitational force is weakened when passing through matter. His deductions subsequently suffered both confirmations and denials to varied degrees. Another pioneering research on working of the cosmos discernible observationally through the study of eclipses came from Maurice Allais, a French Nobel Prize winner for economics, a citizen scientist, nevertheless, like my own humble self. The general relativity involving gravitational fields provide more of a theoretical side of gravity, some of which has seen the observational validity. Scientists have been attempting to discover more about gravity during the periods of eclipse in anticipation of unique combinations of gravitational forces of Sun, Earth and the Moon. On June the 30th, 1954, Morris deployed a three-dimensional oscillatory Foucault pendulum to observe special phenomena in gravitational fields that occurred during the total solar eclipse, and subsequently on October the 2nd, 1959 in France. The experiments yielded results which showed that special gravitational phenomena come to fore during eclipse. Subsequently, his experiment was repeated by other researchers, yielding a mixed result, though overall confirming his observations, which were named Allais effect. No special or Allais effects during the eclipse could be recorded in Shetland, Scotland in 1954, Italy in 1961, Finland and USSR in 1990. The total solar eclipse of August 11, 1999 was a good opportunity to test the effects, However, for strange reasons, the same was made to culminate into shady outcome. NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center first appeared to be coordinating with LAs for a worldwide effort between observatories and universities over 7 countries, namely United States, Austria, Germany, Italy, Australia, England, and 4 sites in the United Arab Emirates. However, after the eclipse, LAs himself criticized the experiments in his final NASA report, observation being much too short to detect anomalies properly. Moreover, the events turned even more shady when the lead supervisor left NASA shortly thereafter with the gathered data, and the NASA study was never finally published. Similarly, 8 gravimeters and 2 pendulums were deployed across 6 monitoring sites in China for the solar eclipse of July 22, 2009. One of the participating scientists in an interview described having observed the LA's effect, yet no results stood published in any academic journal. However, at almost all other times, the special effects, that is LA's effect, were recorded to be repeating positively, namely 1961 Romania, 1970 Boston, 1990 Finland, 1991 Mexico City, 1995 India. Other experiments using atomic clocks and gravimeters instead of pendulums also recorded significant anomalous gravitational effects, which can neither be caused by a tidal effect or drift of the gravimeters, nor by high frequency noise that had special patterns. These experiments were set up by different teams during solar eclipses. China in 1992 and 1997, India in 1995, Romanian team in 2006, Ukrainian and Romanian teams in years 2008, 2009 and 2011. NASA, seemingly on the basis of no or frugal research base, declared through its 2017 website information that no special or the altered electromagnetic arena or radiation phenomena occur during the eclipse.
NASA was right though in stating only up to the extent that the near massless neutrinos, let me clarify, they are not neutrons and weigh around 500,000 times less than an electron.
Neutrinos still pass through the entire mass of the screening moon or the earth, as the case may be, including the bodies of all the living beings. Just for an idea, every second about 100 trillion neutrinos pass through a human body. Neutrinos are rarely absorbed by or collide with particles of regular matter, though whenever they did, the interaction produces showers of secondary particles which the appropriate detectors could pick. The net effect of interaction of the neutrinos with the radioactive substances holds key to how time ticked in the cosmos. Sun is the biggest and most influential source of neutrinos and other known and incognito particles. Seemingly, it is this original source of particles that strike various planets and cosmic bodies, interact with the matter and energy on a particular planet or cosmic body variedly, or just pass through without any interaction. The IceCube Observatory, situated at the South Pole, measured neutrinos going through the Earth at various angles to arrive and facilitate their study at the neutrino detector over there. The study could tell that not all the neutrinos that entered the Earth's surface at North Pole made it to the South Pole, implying that they interacted with the intervening matter located anywhere between the surface of the Earth and its core. There is no estimation anywhere of neutrinos that entered atmosphere of the Earth but did not reach the surface. The neutrinos interact with indefinite types and numbers of inorganic and organic matter. Long-term measurements of decay rates for silicon-32 and chlorine-36 at Brookhaven National Laboratory in New York and those of radium-226 at the Physikalische in Germany suggest that radio decay rates vary. A physicist from Purdue University in Indiana has also asserted so in a published paper about the unexplained annual fluctuations. According to the deductions of Mr. Jenkins and Fishbash, the changes in the decay rates are due to interactions with solar neutrinos, nearly weightless particles that are constantly created by nuclear reactions within the sun's core and travel almost at the speed of light. Not only the inorganic, but also the ones living, including human beings, do contain varying degree of radioactivity and decays taking places every second. The biggest source of radioactivity in human beings is potassium-40, and with each passing second, about 5,000 atoms undergo radioactive decay in average person with 70 kgs of weight. Also, he emits about 500 gamma rays. There are some other radioactive substances present in human body like carbon-14, uranium-238 and thorium-232. But their quantity is small. As such, the radiations they emit are mostly low energy emissions that do not escape the human body and also basically not the gamma rays. The infinite multitudes of radioactive substances combinations which comprise all the matter individually or as a varying assembly in the cosmos must cause a varied process of decays or what we may also term aging. Notwithstanding the research inputs as above, as also narrated subsequently, NASA has declared on its informational webpage that eclipse viewing is more or less harmless. However, if anyone watched the sun before totality, one will catch a glimpse of the brilliant solar surface, and this can cause retinal damage. Though the typical human instinctual response is to quickly look away before any severe damage has actually occurred. NASA also does not foresee any possible harm to the babies in womb. They also declare the food to be contamination free even if prepared or consumed with exposure to the radiations that arrive before, during and after an eclipse. Such a belief of NASA is non-confirmatory not only to the ancient Sanatan wisdom on the topic but also to the medical research on the subject. NASA seems to have missed an important bridge that intricately connects cosmic influences with the living beings. We would attempt to bridge the two, which may eventually reveal the ancient Sanatan wisdom as a super science which the Western world is yet to catch up. NASA or even the Western science in their deduction of eclipse medically not influencing human beings have totally missed and rather not taken into account the consequences of increased surface tension of water, a phenomena which unanimously stands observed by numerous Western researchers themselves during and after the eclipse event. According to a consolidated article by Elmer Fuchs of Netherlands and others, published in the Springer Nature magazine dated September 30th, 2019, studies of surface tension of water during 4 solar eclipse events exhibited an increase between 0.6 and 2.4 millinewton per meter from their usual 72 millinewton per meter between 20 and 85 minutes after the maximum eclipse. Water, which constitutes 70% of human body, has one of the highest surface tension for liquids. Water is a major ingredient and participatory of innumerable biological processes that sustain and influence life. To begin with, surface tension is an important factor in the phenomena of capillarity. Dynamic surface tension measurements of human biological fluids depend on various parameters such as sex, age, and changes during pregnancy or certain disease. Studying of surface tension behavior of human biological fluids would have provided additional information and might become useful in medical practice. Viewers of our video number 0 would recall our promise of possibly providing newer topics of research in various fields of life and non-life sciences. This video would extensively provide aspects of research in the medical field besides cosmology and geophysics.
Before proceeding any further, I must admit my utterly shallow knowledge in the medical field.
I would selectively quote from rare and elaborate article published in Feb 2015 by Anahita Fathi and Abol Ghasem Joaben, Medical Faculty of Iran. The article lists and showcases 97 cited research works on the topic of body fluids surface tension implications on human life and diseases. The video would enlarge beyond proportions even if influence of varied surface tension on each human biological system was discussed in brief. On the basis of above quoted extensive research of experts from the medical field, it can unambiguously and definitely be asserted that surface tension of liquids in human body regulates each and every fundamental biological process, starting with every transient breath to the last, and highly complex processes that endure a lifetime. On the anatomical side, biological tissues are viscoelastic materials, and the cells in a tissue behave very much like molecules in a fluid. The morphology and shape of the organism are driven by the events that occur at the cellular level. The shape of a cell is the result of a balance of intercellular and extrinsic forces exerted on it. This behavior is defined through surface tension. According to the said research, multiple types of cancers and tumors are also surface tension driven to a great extent. The amount of energy needed to transform a cell to its lowest energy state is inversely correlated with surface tension. Changes in cell shape and bending energy can trigger modification in gene expression and enzymatic function and result in cancerous cell proliferation, tissue invasion, and metastasis spreading. Each type of tumor corresponds to a dynamic surface tension parameter. Neurology diseases such as neurosyphilis and other pathologies are influenced by complex factors also involving surface tension. Cerebrospinal fluid or CSF consists of 99% water, 1% solid residues, and traces of inorganic and organic compounds, mainly surfactants. CSF helps maintain an osmotic pressure and protects the brain from the physical injuries. Dynamic surface tension studies of CSF help in diagnosing many disorders. Respiratory mucus represents a complex mixture of water, protein and glycoproteins, lipids and salts, which provide viscoelastic properties as a physical barrier for the entry of pathogens and allergens during breathing cycles. Pulmonary surfactant or PS has been delineated as a surface active material that coats the alveolar space of the human lungs to reduce the surface tension and prevent collapse of the alveoli during breathing. It also plays a significant part in lungs' defense against bacterial or chemical invasion. Variations in surface tension indicate alteration in the surfactant system causing pulmonary diseases. An increase in the mucus secretion dilutes the surfactant and increases the surface tension of surfactant lining of the lung airways and causes narrowing and obstruction of the airway. Embryonic development involves intricate coordination of molecular, cellular, and tissue level processes that must occur according to strict schedules of time and location. Amniotic fluid performs multiple functions for protection and development of the baby in the mother's womb. It protects the fetus, controls temperature, fights infections, facilitates muscle and bone development as the baby floats inside with some freedom, provides lubrication for keeping body parts such as fingers disjoint, and prevents the umbilical cord from being compressed. This cord transports food and oxygen from the placenta to the growing fetus. Role of amniotic fluid in lung and digestive system development is of utmost concern to our topic. By breathing and swallowing the amniotic fluid, baby practices using muscles of these systems as they grow. Incomplete expansion of the lungs at birth, as from lack of breathing force, or collapse of the lungs, as from bronchial obstruction, medically termed as atelectasis, is amniotic fluid surface tension sensitive during the gestation stage of the human embryo. Such is the importance of surface tension during every stage of human life. With this, we move on to the atmospheric aspects of the eclipse. Earth enjoys a multi-layered atmosphere which varies much in thickness, composition, function, photosensitivity, heat porosity, and permittivity. It is a unique place which unexpectedly houses and regulates all the essential ingredients that make up and sustain life. The most important characteristic, yet still untouched aspect of Earth's atmosphere is its directional sensitivity and layered assembly. Another peculiarity occurs in the form of capabilities of these layers to compress and expand, which also alter their ingress and outgress characteristics for anything entering or exiting. As is common knowledge, ozone together with the peculiar layers of Earth blocks harmful solar and cosmic radiations. Ozone creation is a process majorly driven by the UV radiations that accompanied the sun rays. Behavior, characteristics and attributes of an air column change not only with changes in compositional mass but also with volume, density, pressure and temperature. The quantum, electromagnetic, physical and chemical properties of gases, their permeability and response to various solar and other radiations, and ultimately the interaction with energy as a whole yields to infinite permutations and combinations of states and characteristics. Thermosphere, which extends to about 690 kilometers from the Earth's surface, withers the extremes of all radiations that space and the sun throws towards the Earth. Thinly scattered molecules of gas absorb X-rays and ultraviolet radiations. Depending upon the influx of solar activity, this layer heats up to 1500 degrees Celsius and cools to minus 90 degrees otherwise. Even the outermost layer, exosphere, is highly solar radiation sensitive. The filtering of all that which the infinite space and celestial bodies, such as the mighty sun, besides the other subtler ones, hurl towards the earth, begins at its magnetic field, which extends to about 65,000 kilometers on the day side due to compressive pressure action of the solar wind, and a whopping 12,75,000 kilometers in the magneto tail in the night side. As they traverse various layers of atmosphere, some types of radiations get reflected back to space, some react with the medium they traverse, and some get filtered or altered in characteristics, vigor and intensity, and whatever of them finally arrives at the Earth's surface again gets reflected back or majorly reacts with the lowermost layer, the troposphere, with Earth's surface as its solid base. Sun acts as the major driver of energy, and it seems the Earth atmosphere is crafted primarily to tackle some of it to be repulsed back, some filtered and finally absorbed in vivid forms such as the visible and ultraviolet light, thermal and other radiations including particles and magnetic stuff, including the electromagnetic, magnetic and gravitational stuff from other bodies, more particularly the other planets, the moon, and most interestingly the two nodes named Rahu and Ketu in Sanatan system that are massless positions in space, occupation of which by the sun, moon and the planets influences the living beings on earth in subtle yet substantial manner. Such influences, more particularly the magnetic, electromagnetic and gravitational fields, as also the reflected solar radiations from planets and close proximity natural satellites inter se, impact the plants, animals and above all the human beings, depending upon the composition and physiology of their nervous, biological and physiological systems. We hope to deal with the topic in detail in volume 2 of my book Cosmos and the Divinity, to be published in due course of time. NASA or anyone else even minutely suggesting that eclipses do not influence life forms, least of all the human beings, utterly ignores an arrangement which Sun, Earth, Moon system puts up each day to sustain life forms. During and after an eclipse, the active sun posture of the Earth that accustoms the atmosphere to tackle active sun radiations is abruptly exposed to no active sun situation, leading to sudden abandonment of processes the sun exposure was earlier driving. Ozone cycles, heat expansion, magnetic and electromagnetic postures that block UV and numerous other radiations abruptly get distorted. Direct influx radiations such as neutrinos suddenly encounter additional mass in the form of screening moon or earth, disturbing their natural arrangement of unscreened ingress that supported life. An altered surface tension of liquids, majorly comprising water, increases, yielding a chain reaction that influences every biological activity as already discussed. Eclipses trigger innumerable out-of-routine phenomena, protection against which are advised in Sanatan practices to be observed before, during and after the eclipse duration, including non-consumption of water, liquids, food, etc. to avoid possible harms at subtle and gross biological levels. Sanatan practices also advised staying indoors to avoid possible harms due to the distorted electromagnetic and radiational spectrum, least of all, stare at a partly or wholly eclipsed sun. Special precautions were also advised for pregnant women to protect the baby from possible genetics disorders during its survival afloat in amniotic fluid, which could possibly encounter surface tension increase like all other liquids did during an eclipse.
The good question is, why do we not see adverse consequences despite non-observance of such codes? Well, there are two possible answers.
The first, what else would they be called if not the adverse consequences, the ailments, cancers, asthma, bronchitis, hypertension, diabetes, or every other modern disease, whether hereditary or otherwise, whose source or reason of occurrence is still not ascertainable. The second answer is a simile. It is not always necessary that everyone driving on the wrong side or seriously violating the laws of traffic would encounter an accident each time they did so. The law of probabilities works in every situation, including the instances in which the laws of nature are violated. The consequences may not come to fruition immediately, yet they do definitely anytime in future.
Was that really not interesting? If possible, please do remember that you first heard
about the eclipse phenomena and its influences on human life, about increased surface tension of liquids, altered atmosphere, distorted magnetic and cosmic radiation screening mechanism on the science beyond, or through my book Cosmos and the Divinity. Please do remember to like and share the video besides subscribing the channel. We would continue to bring new light on cosmic reality through our original research.